Mental health is the real pandemic. I know not everyone is familiar with mental health. It's not your fault. Honestly, it's everyone's fault. The government doesn't have enough policies and programs about mental illness. The education system is so broken that we prioritize teaching the past than preparing us in the future. I learned on how Jose Rizal died, but I didn't learn on how to handle stress. I learned about E equals MC squared, but not how to deal with mental illness. We made conversation about mental health a taboo. But to be fair, it's not just in our country. Almost everywhere in the world, mental illness is considered a taboo. We don't ask the person on why is this happening, but put the blame to them. You lack faith and prayer. It's just all in your mind. Snap out of it. You have everything. Why would you be depressed? And even calling them crazy and psycho, words that don't comfort them and just makes everything worse. Mental illness is a disorder, not a decision. It's not something doctors will prescribe nor something you can buy in the market. Mental health is a pandemic that killed Robin Williams, Marilyn Monroe, Vincent van Gogh, Sully Choi, Brian Velasco, and 700,000 people every year. In every 40 seconds, a person dies from suicide. In every 40 seconds, a family mourns a death of their loved ones. In every 40 seconds, a death from a pandemic that we turned a blind eye with. Suicide is the second leading cause of death for 15 to 24 years old. Yes, more young people are dying because of suicide than pneumonia and cancer. Everyone watching this, please close your eyes. Imagine it's the middle of the day and hits you all of a sudden. You are with your friends, laughing and having fun. But there's this weird and uncomfortable feeling in your mind and in the pit of your stomach. You want to leave and go somewhere quiet and dark. You're being devoured. You're engulfed in your own thoughts, so dark and hurried, you're terrified. It's destroying you from the inside out. But what can you do? Suffer? That's what a lot of us do and have done. However, there are moments when the pain becomes unbearable. You can stand the darkness that's dragging you down into an endless pit. And you decided the only way to stop it is to join it. Suicide is a very controversial topic that we usually avoid, but every time we do, more and more people suffer. They felt trapped. They felt deep inside them this horrible, disgusting feeling. And all they wanted to do is cry. That's how suffering feels. This constant feeling of being trapped and not being able to do anything to stop it. That's how people with mental illness feel constantly. It devours us. Fear eats our insides away until we are nothing but bones. Fear controls us. Fear puts us on autopilot and does whatever it wants. That feeling you have in the pit of your stomach when you're about to do something that makes you nervous. That's how anxiety feels. That's how living with mental illness feels. It runs our lives and we can stop it. Admitting to someone that you have a problem is probably the hardest thing to do. Admitting to my friends that I have anxiety and depression took me months and years for my family to know. It's not something I'm ashamed of, but something the society is unprepared for. There were points in my life where the darkness dragged me down so deep that I lost all hope. I had no one to talk to. I called the DOH crisis hotline. A soothing voice answered, and the call went on for an hour. There were nights when I felt uneasy, and I realized it was another anxiety attack. My heart is beating faster than I can catch my breath. My sweat and my overwhelming fear filled my room. My body trembled and I felt like I'm going to pass out. It lasted for 20 agonizing minutes. There were also occasions when it occurred during class presentation. I began stuttering and now find it difficult to concentrate. I took a deep breath and just pretended there were technical problems. Like many of you, I became a victim of the monster we call self-harm. Self-harm isn't a suicide attempt or a cry for attention. However, it can be a way for some people to cope with overwhelming and distressing thoughts or feelings. Self-harm should be taken seriously, whatever the reason behind it. The most heartbreaking thing is that there are children and adolescents who have suicidal thoughts and behaviors, which I unfortunately have as well. Mental illness greatly affected my life, as it has on the lives of 792 million people worldwide. This isn't a story I'm telling you to copy, rather, it's a story I'm sharing with you to learn from. Asking someone if how their day was and if they are okay is not the only solution to this pandemic. We need to prevent more suicide from happening, because one life lost is one too many. We need to bring more awareness on how serious mental illness is and have more affordable treatment and medication. We need to ensure that schools provide students proper care and treatment, and schools need to be portraying mental health as equally important and crucial as physical health. That starts with making mental health education a required part of education across all schools. The best way kids are going to learn to understand mental health is to educate them. It is not wrong or inappropriate to ask whether someone is having suicidal thoughts. If they are considering ending their life, offer to help the person. Take steps to get assistance and support. Encourage the person to seek treatment. For people with mental health problems, not being able to talk about it can be one of the worst parts of the illness. So by getting people talking about mental illness, we can break down stereotypes, improve relationships, aid recovery, and take the stigma out of something that affects us all. Mental illness is like any other medical illness. It's nothing to be ashamed of.